Laura. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's a pleasure to have you.
Hi, thank you
Uh,
for
so
having
uh,
me.
I was sent your gorgeous book, The Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow by Simon and Schuster India. And I absolutely enjoyed this book, loved it. And I saw that a lot of people across the world have loved this book. They've left some really good reviews. So I wanted to know that when you were writing, did you at all expect that so many readers from all different parts of the world, from different cultures, would resonate with this book so much?
Well, you always hope that when you start a book that people will love it. Um, but no, not probably to this extent. A lot of this I wrote just for myself, just
Right,
to tribute my own family and just, for my own enjoyment, first of all, even though I always keep readers and readership in mind.
right.
That doesn't always get you through the first draft. You just have to get it all out and do something that is meaningful for you that you think will also then resonate with others. But, ever since Reese's Book Club picked it up, that really expanded the audience of the book. And I'm so grateful to her and to the entire team because they kind of helped bring the book more, to more places and to expand their reach. And that has been more homes. So
Right,
very grateful.
right. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So I wanted to ask you if you could, for those readers who still may not know about this book, so maybe if you can, in a very few words, tell us what this is about.
Okay, yeah, sure. I have my copy here. I'm going to grab that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Cuban Girl is about Lila Reyes, and she's an 18-year-old Cuban bakery heiress. So her family owns a popular Cuban bakery in Miami. And right before she graduates high school, Lila suffers three heartbreaking losses, one with a love interest and a best friend, and her abuela dies, her grandmother, who
Right.
was a pivotal force of inspiration and love for her. And she's not doing too well. And I'm Cuban American too. And
Right.
Lila's family is kind of at the end of their rope, and they do something that actually some people don't understand that is kind of typical in Cuban families and other Latina families. Is if you're not doing okay at home, they send you to your tia or your aunt or uncle, the aunties. You
Right.
know,
Right.
they send you somewhere
Yeah.
else where you can get a break from your own self, right? Your own family, your own
Absolutely.
day to day, and that's what
Yeah.
Lila's having. Right. That's what she's having a problem with. So it's
Right.
being at home, being in Miami. She keeps repeating her bad habits that have kind of got her in some of the situations that she's in. So she's not really healthy. And that is something that happened in my own family with my cousins. And my home was the landing spot for some of my cousins when I was growing up. And that kind of stuck with me.
Mhm.
Anyway, Leela goes and is shipped off kind of against her will. She really doesn't want to, because she has too much stuff to do, but she ends up in England at
Right.
her distant family members' country inn in Winchester, which is about an hour outside of London by train. And it's a
Right.
small town, city, cobblestones and cold weather, the complete opposite of hot, humid, tropical, vibrant Miami, Florida. So Leela just does not want to be there. And what happens? She begins to realize that you have to something called bloom where you're planted, and
Mhm.
wherever you are you need to be your best there, even though it's not the ideal. You need to find a way to survive and
Right.
to grow and to be yourself. And she ends up cooking in the inn kitchen where she's staying, and she meets Orion, who is a British
Right.
tea clerk. His family owns a tea shop. And Orion
Yes.
also has, I'm not going to spoil, a similar parallel type of loss and ordeal that Leela's going through. And the way he handles it is completely opposite from her. And that kind of goes her for a little while. So Leela learns through Orion, just kind of takes her under his wing and becomes her friend at first and tour guide, and helps her to reframe a lot of the things that she's seen. And he kind of invites her into his friend group and into his city. And
Right.
Leela learns that maybe she doesn't have to be in Miami to be a perfect Cuban American, that she can be anywhere and do that. And there's a lesson there. I'm not going to spoil everything, but what she has to go through. And she ends up being torn. she has a job, a managerial position, an owner position back home. Does she
Right.
want to go do that? Or does she want to continue to explore who she is as a citizen of the world? And so you have
Right.
to read to find out what she does. I don't
Yes.
know.
Yes. So everybody who's not read this, you
Yeah.
need to go out and read this to find out what happens next. But I will take a
Yeah.
moment to gush about how beautiful the cover is, the cover art. And I wanted to know
Yeah,
what was
really
your reaction
same.
when you first saw the cover of this book?
Well, that is not the cover. I
Okay,
when we have a cover on conversations,
different
you
covers,
get
yeah.
prototypes.
Yeah,
And so I loved yeah, different covers. So the art director Karen
right,
Lee, who works at Simon and Schuster, and Andrea Peretta, who's my friend now. Actually, she's repped by my same agent. I'm pretty close, and she was chosen um, to do the cover. And she gave me these beautiful prototypes, and they were very like vintage. Vintage, that's her style.
style.
Different things aren't the color that they are, like
Yes, yes,
orange grass, and
yeah,
yeah. And there were like 3 or 4 of these. So we went back and forth with my editor and with the agent, and we kind of tuned that to we get this the pink, the and like the sweater that Leela's wearing. That's the sweater in the book that Orion lends her. That becomes a big part of the book. I'm wearing a sweater today in honor of that, even though it's hot. But that was like green on the cover, and I said, "Well, it has to be gray because it's gray in the book." And
yeah,
she absolutely fixed that. So we went back and forth. But the pink now you can see if you can't see it there, like they're sitting
yeah,
on a hill. It's really in the book, and this is a scene from the book called St.
yeah,
Catherine's Hill in
right,
Winchester, and you can see the skyline, but it's pink and green. Well, those are the typical colors that you would associate if you live here with Miami.
right,
So I thought it was so cool that Karen decided we're going to marry the England and Miami on the cover by having this British tea, British picnic in the British
right,
hill with the
right.
Brit and a tea that she's got there with the Miami colors. And
With
I
the
just wouldn't, I'm glad they didn't put me in charge of that because I would not have come up with that. And that's just the brilliance of having a good art director. So I
right,
was just delighted, and everyone has commented how much they
yeah.
love it, how joyful it is. There's some Easter eggs on the cover. There's some secrets
There are,
on
and
there
I picked them
that
up
are in the
after I
book,
read it.
and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
enjoy that.
yeah. Oh, absolutely gorgeous. So now I want to
Mm-hmm.
know
Yeah,
that,
there's some little
yeah,
things. So yeah.
absolutely. Now I wanted to know that, let's say if Leela is about to come to your home and you want to cook something for her because Leela is a great cook and she's a great chef. So I wanted to know what would you prepare for her to try, and also what is your personal
Oh.
relationship with food?
Oh, okay. Well, okay, since Lila is the consummate Cuban chef, I don't think I would make Cuban food for her. I would make something different. And I make really good spaghetti,
Yeah,
Italian food. So I think I would make that for Lila because I'm sure she could make that too. It's just I can do that. So I would make that for her. And as far as food, like all of the foods that are in the book are food that I grew up eating from my Cuban family
right,
and
right,
recipes from my mother, and everything in there I ate when I was growing up for years and years. So my
right,
relationship with food is very much shown the way Leela's is, that food brings love and togetherness and sharing and relationship.
right,
And as characters share emotions and they share about themselves, they're sharing a meal, and how that's very much tied in our lives. I think when you go out with your friends and you talk and you bond over having coffee or going to get a good
right,
meal and just being with your friends, that food element is something you can share, and it kind of heightens relationship. And that's
right.
what I wanted to use in the book so much. So yeah, I'm a big foodie. We like to eat out and do all those things and cook. And yeah, so that shows all my books
Absolutely
have food.
have that.
All of them.
Yes,
A lot of
yes.
food. Mhm.
So now I also wanted to, draw focus to the fact that Leela is dealing with a lot of grief and how to come in terms with that grief because of her abuela. So, and so many teenagers or even young children, they lose parents, they lose siblings. Death is something that affects all of us at different times in our lives. So, what did you have any piece of advice to ease the process of grieving?
Yeah. I would say a lot of that is what Leela does in this book. She starts to learn to rely less on her own, the
Right,
confines of her own self, and to start opening up and let people in. And I think that's a real good
right,
thing beyond a therapy and getting help when you
right,
need to.
right,
Is just being open and finding people in your life that can sit and listen with you, maybe over a meal, that can just help you to carry that. And I think with Leela, she's so type A and she's so interested in business and she wants to be the best. She wants to win and own this great, successful business, that she forgets the vulnerable parts of herself, and she forgets to that it's okay to lean on others, that you don't have to do it all. And that is a
right,
message that I wanted teens to know. And there is a lot of grief in here, but teens will have years like Leela did. Teens
right,
will lose three things.
right.
And unfortunately, that's the reality of the world we live in. And so
Yeah,
I like to write a reflection of that world and show one way,
right.
that someone could get through that.
Absolutely, absolutely beautiful. I also know that your recent new book is already out. It's just come out, and so how's the reaction like? How's it different from this one?
Oh, that's not out yet. This one, let me
Oh,
show you here.
okay, yes. Okay, so
Yep, November 2nd,
I
when
might have seen the ARC. Yes, yes, yes.
they are, yes. Yeah, this one is totally okay. I would say it's completely different because this one is a friendship book.
Okay.
And it's this one is
I
it's
love
based,
the
if you
cover.
the
I love the
romance.
cover.
Yeah, oh, isn't that gorgeous? I
It
know. And
is.
if you
It
can
is.
see, she's really the one that's upside down, and you can see it's hard
Ah,
to see the beach
wow.
and all of that.
Yes, yes,
I
yes.
know, isn't that cool? And the
Yeah.
memory, this is her memory.
Right,
It's so
right, right.
amazing.
Beautiful.
This one, thank you. Yes, this one, when we were then, is about
You
a
always
lifelong friendship.
you always get the
I
best
know,
artist.
I do, and I don't have any say. They just blessed me with this beautiful artwork and these wonderful illustrators. This is an
Right,
Indonesian artist that I love,
right,
Dion MBD, and you can look at
right.
his. If you go to my social media, I tag him, and you can go and see his art. And
Okay, I
he's
will
done
do
some
that.
very popular, beautiful books, and
Okay,
he's wonderful. And the same art director, so she knew she wanted him. She's brilliant. Karen, who works at Simon
right,
and Schuster, knew
right.
what she wanted, because this story is darker. It's more eerie.
Oh,
It's
oh,
probably even sadder. This one has things that you're going to be maybe throwing tomatoes at me, going, "You're a life ruiner." Yes, but it also has hope and joy, and it has redemption.
okay.
And this is yeah. So this is a friendship book. Like I said, there is some romance in here, but it's really not the
So
main idea. It's about friends.
is this like a fantasy? Is this fantasy?
No,
No,
it's
no.
not fantasy. It's told in dual timeline. So,
Okay.
yes, on the first chapter, Willa here, who is depicted here
Ah,
with the memory box, has done something
right.
to ruin the friendship with the other two that has been
Okay.
happening for 10 years, and you don't know what.
What?
And they give her an ultimatum. She needs to get real with the problem and find out why she did this, and she won't admit it because she can't even vocalize it.
Right.
And or they're done. And so that's the week they're going to graduate from high school. They're going to get out of school and go off to college
Right.
and go off to university, right?
Right.
So the first timeline is that entire week of graduation where Willa has to revisit what has
Right.
happened and come to terms with it herself, that she's in denial and she has
Right.
blocked it out.
Ah,
And the other timeline that alternates with it is all 10 years or the 4 years of high school and
together.
all their
Yeah.
past. And it shows you what happened to
Yeah.
lead up to this betrayal and this huge moment where she
So
messes it all up.
yeah, it's right. The
Yeah.
past catching
So
up
it
with
goes
the
all,
present. Yeah.
and then, and one at the climax of the book, those timelines meet
Polite.
at 1
Yeah.
second.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the rest of the book, which is a few chapters, are then they just go forth. So
Right.
that's this. And that was really hard. That was hard to write. I had to rewrite it in
Right.
edits. I
Right.
rewrote most of it with my
I
editor.
can
We got it,
understand.
as
Yeah.
good as we can.
Yeah.
And this one comes out November 2nd.
It sounds very different from what you have written so far. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, it is. But it has a Cuban American, it has the Cuban rep.
Right.
There's a big Cuban family. So they're
Right.
always going to be the Latina rep for me, that I
Of
love
course.
to write.
Of course.
And this one is more, okay, the Cuban girl is kind of a love story to my Cuban family. And when we
Right.
were them, is a love story to my my hometown, which is San Diego, California, which is on here. So it's a love story to my own childhood growing up
Ah,
apart from my family. Okay,
beautiful.
this is
Yeah.
my neighborhood, the tiny little pocket where I
Ah,
grew up.
beautiful. Yeah.
This is my love letter to my childhood.
So beautiful.
The California part, the beach
Yeah.
surfing. So all of that
Ah.
is in here. And you're gonna have there's a huge food element here too. The foods that I ate and that are popular where I live,
Right.
there's a big food and
Right.
sharing, and there's a lot
Right.
of hope. And the things that you like
Mhm.
in Cuban Girl, some of those things
Right.
you will
Right.
find, but there's
Right.
some things in here that are not in Cuban Girl that you might go, oh, like you're gonna, okay, I see why she did that, but I hate her right now.
Hate
But
her.
like I hate her in a good way, like a good way. And that's okay. I'm ready for it. Yeah.
No,
So it's just risky.
yeah, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
it's so much fun that you mentioned it's set in California. It has beach, it has surfing.
Yes.
That reminds me of a book that I just read and absolutely loved, Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid.
Oh yeah. I haven't
And
read that one yet, but I love Taylor. Isn't she good? Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so good. It's so good. I loved it. I just like read that book in one night. So the moment you said, it has California, it has beach, I was like, I want to read this one like right now, right off the
Oh,
bat.
good. You gotta talk to my people and they'll get you
Yeah,
an art. You
yeah,
gotta talk to my people.
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm out. They only give us a couple,
Yeah,
we don't have that
and
many and
you know what the best part with your book is, specifically this one, is that it got an Indian release. Most
yeah.
international books, the ones that are sold in the US, they don't necessarily always get the Indian rights as soon as it comes out. So we had to wait for 6 months for this book because this released like quite early, and for us it
I
released
know. I'm
only
sorry.
only in July. And no, that's okay. But we were so happy that we got this book because half of the times we don't get these books. And we're like, oh my God. And,
I know.
it's so difficult to get hold of a copy.
I didn't know. Oh, there are foreign editions, but you have the English. So
Right,
the foreign editions I have more control of. I can do, I get to work with those publishers. It just came out in Brazil.
right,
It's coming out in Romania, in Russia,
right.
in Italy. It's coming out, those are translated and
Translated.
there's
Yeah,
some, if you look,
this is
there's new
English. Yeah,
covers.
we follow the
Yes.
UK. Yeah, yeah,
Right. And so that is under Simon and Schuster. I don't really know, but I had so many messages from the most lovely Indian readers saying,
yeah.
why can't I have your book? Can you please? I'm like, I can't mail them. It costs me like $60-$70.
Dollars.
Like,
Yeah,
I can't do that. I can't send these to readers. And they were asking me to send them. Like, I'm so sorry. I don't have the means to do that, like for
yeah.
every reader.
We
They were
understand.
just begging. I'm like, and I went to the publisher. I'm like, look, the messages the
Yeah,
messages are like overwhelming. Can we please get this to India? And I was telling the
right,
editorial and all of that, and they made it happen. So
right.
I was so pleased because so
So
many people asked me, and the support was so touching. I just want to thank you, India, for being
yeah.
so wonderful and supportive.
Yeah, and I saw that a lot of you've already spoken to a lot of Indian, you've done this kind of interview with lots of other Indians as well. So that made me really happy
Yeah.
that
Oh,
the
there's so
book
much
that
fun.
the book is
Yeah.
reaching out to its
Okay.
target.
Okay, but your time difference, you're a half hour. That half hour just makes me so confused. I keep going like, what is this? The time difference between us is
Yeah,
like what, 11 and a half hours?
11 and a half
12 and a
hours.
half
Yeah,
hours?
yeah,
Half,
12 and a
the
half hours.
half hour. I'm like, 12. Where did that half hour go is where I want to know. And someone should write a book about this. Where's this missing half hour?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh no, it confuses me.
Right,
Oh my
right.
gosh.
But this was
Oh, it's
this is such an absolute fun conversation. Thank you for joining me today for your morning
thank
and giving me the
you.
time to chat with you. I absolutely loved it. I cannot wait to check out your new book that's coming out soon in November. And as you said,
Thank
I would have
you.
requested for an ARC, but I know how difficult it is, so I will not. So I will wait for the book to come out, and and then I'll talk, and then probably we'll do this again another time with better internet connection then.
You just asked me. You
Yeah,
just get in, just send me a
right,
message and we'll make it
right,
happen.
right. So absolutely looking forward to it, and I hope this book gets more recognition. It gets picked up by more people, more readers read it because it's such a beautiful story at heart. And I feel that even younger audiences can read it. Like it's basically PG-13, so it's beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you
So
so much.
yes,
I'm
I
really
had a
thrilled that you
lovely
enjoyed
chat,
it.
and I will be seeing you super soon. Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.